Foreigners. Bloody foreigners. Bloody foreigners. Right. The foreigners that I'm referring to in particular are foreign players. Foreign players in Indian football. Why is it an issue? Where do I begin? It's an issue because currently the Indian Super League and the I-League, by the way, have 6 foreign players are allowed in the squad, of which 5 are allowed on the pitch at any one time. So you can have 6 in your team, but only 5 can be on the field. That's nearly half the team, by the way. Why is it a problem? Well, I'll come to that in just a minute. But first of all, I think you need to understand the comparisons of other countries, and let's just focus on Asia for now. Understand the comparisons and where India fits with those others. So India's ranking in Asia is currently 19th. The number 1 ranked team in Asia is Iran. And Iran has the official AFC 3+1 rule. What does that mean? It means that 3 foreigners are allowed to be part of your squad, with a 4th being from a country only in Asia. So, for example, a player from Australia, Japan, one of the other teams that make up the AFC conference. So you're allowed 3 foreigners from anywhere in the world, and you're allowed 1 foreigner from somewhere else inside the AFC conference. Now, just to bear in mind, Iran are the number 1 ranked team in Asia. So, the number 2 ranked team in Asia is Japan. Now, Japan have a 5 foreigner rule, so a 4+1, but still pretty close and still a damn sight better than what's in the Indian Super League and what's in the I-League. The 3rd ranked team in Asia is South Korea, and South Korea has 3+1. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you because these are the 3 best teams in Asia, and by having a reduced quota of foreign players, it hasn't harmed them. It hasn't harmed them. They're the best 3 teams in Asia. They have been to World Cups. So when I hear people use the excuse that, you know what, foreign players and having those extra foreign players raises the standards of the games, bollocks, it does. It doesn't. Added interest. It brings added interest to the game. That's one of the other arguments I hear. Okay, well, that's all well and good, added interest, when you talk about the first season of the ISL. When you talk about the Del Pieros that were featuring in the ISL, the Nicholas Anelkas that were featuring in the ISL, way back in those early days. But, as some of you know, I live in Dubai, and the Arabian Gulf League, which is the United Arab Emirates League, it has a number of foreigners in its ranks. Doesn't enhance the product. Doesn't put more people in the stadium. It doesn't. So then why do it? And there's one thing that I've seen in all the years that I've been following football, the Arabian Gulf League, as it's called now in the UAE, is that when I first arrived here in the Middle East, the foreign players that they were bringing in were over the hill. They were finished. They were done. They were knackered. They should have been retired. They couldn't run. I distinctly remember when Fabio Cannavaro came to play in the UAE League. I was like, oh my God, is this the same Fabio Cannavaro who lifted the World Cup trophy? Is it the same guy? To use one of Budgie's favourite phrases, it looked like he was towing a caravan. It really did. He was past it. He was done. His days were done. And then you factor in all of the other things such as the heat and climate, etc., blah, 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 blah. I have got no problem with foreigners coming and playing in India as long as they are of good quality, good standard, at or around the peak of their game, not 37, 38, 39, 40 or more. Taking the piss. You really are, if you're bringing that kind of foreigner into the league. So, coming back to the argument for this. The argument is that on one side, the foreign name, the big foreign name, raises the profile of the club or the team. I understand that. Or the league. I understand that. But I've said this in videos before, and you'll hear me say this many, many times from now going forward, whether it's right here, you watching with me here, whether it's on Facebook Live when we're doing the La Liga shows. You cannot con the fans. They know when a fabulous player is over the hill, past his peak, needs put out to grass, for want of a term. And this is where the damage is done. Now, the ISL is moving to reduce the number of foreigners in their leagues, as is the I-League. And that's a good thing. And that's to be applauded. It really has to be applauded. The reason that this is a problem, an immediate problem for Indian football is this. It limits the opportunities for homegrown talent. Let me repeat that. It limits the opportunities for homegrown talent. You want to know why the most valued players in Indian football right now, Indian players, are goalkeepers? Do you know why? Because of the quota system of foreigners. Excuse me. Chai Tuesday. If you put an Indian keeper between the sticks, it allows you one foreign player to be in the outfield. And what's that foreign player going to be? It's going to be an attacking player. It's going to be a skillful talent, a creative player, a striker. People say we don't have someone to follow Sunil Chetri. They're absolutely right. We don't have someone to follow Sunil Chetri. Why? Because over these recent years, any young striking talent or any young prospect that is possibly going to be a striker is pushed out onto the wings, a position where, you know what, they don't have as much influence on the game. Why? Because you want through the spine of your team, your foreigners, the creative backbone of your team, the striking talent of your team, you want them to be foreigners. That's just logical thinking. I don't blame the coaches for that. The managers of the teams, I don't blame the teams themselves. I don't blame the owners of the teams. That's logic, that. So if you reduce those foreign players down to a 3+1, you reduce the number of those creative midfield or attacking talents or striking talents that can be foreigners, which gives the homegrown talent more opportunity to fulfill those positions. Why is that important? Because if India is going to go anywhere as a national team and is going to reach the moon, and their moon is a World Cup qualification, then they need the spine of the team to be the best it possibly can be. Which means you need competition for those places. And at the moment, there's not enough competition for those places. So, I've debunked the myth that, the foreigners, it's affecting, if you don't have enough foreigners, it affects the league and it affects the national team in some way, shape or form. It adversely affects the national team. Of course it does. Of course it does, by having too many foreigners. But if you keep that limit low, there is no argument against it. Iran proved that, #1 ranked in Asia. Japan proved that, #2 ranked in Asia. And South Korea proved that, #3 ranked in Asia. That the 3+1 rule, which by the way, I still don't get that to this day. Indian teams need to be competing in the Asian Champions League. Of course they do. And to do that, surely you have to fulfill the AFC requirements. And the AFC requirements are, boys and girls, 3+1. So why is it a different rule for Indian teams? Why is it a different rule for the Indian Super League? I don't know. Reduce the number, increase the homegrown talent. If you like this video, then click like. It's as easy as that. If you want to subscribe and you want to watch every week, then subscribe, please. And if you want to comment, please comment. Whether you agree or disagree, please comment.